we're so used to working from home and not having to face each other that when we do see each other, we feel like it's more distraction, Even though I have 3 or 4 members in Sydney, I thought that, oh, great, we're going to catch up all the time and then we'll work together. But every time that we catch up to work, we're like, we don't know what to do with each other. We're we're in each other's face. Whereas when we're working from home, every hour is so productive,
Hey, welcome back everyone to Lead Well, Live Well, where we have authentic conversations with interesting leaders. I have the wonderful privilege of having the founder and CEO of Outsourcing Angels. She's a productivity expert. Linh Podetti, great to see you.
Oh, thank you.
This is revenge time for me because you interviewed me and I was pretty vulnerable and it was all a bit embarrassing. But so great to have you. Thanks for coming down.
Well, yeah, thank you for inviting me to your beautiful house in this awesome studio.
I like the studio. I can live in here. It's quite good. Tell us a little bit about Outsourcing Angel. How did you get involved with that and what do you do?
Okay, so Outsourcing Angel was started because I was a single mum and I needed to find a way to be able to work from home and, have that flexibility. And so I don't think I ever thought about starting a business. I mean, I knew I wanted to be working in, I remember as a kid, I was imagining myself holding a suitcase in Vietnam, but I don't think I ever thought I was going to be an entrepreneur. But it wasn't until I had a son at such a young age that I knew when I was working a corporate job, it was not supporting the lifestyle that I needed. And so I was in search for something to do. Yep. And so I tried lots of different businesses. The first one was actually a nail polish business, e-commerce, and I had no idea what I was doing, but I learned a lot about how to get things done, outsourcing, and the thing is I didn't know how to do anything. I wasn't a website designer. I wasn't a graphic designer. And so I had to hire resources to do it. And so that was when I started to learn how to outsource. And so through that business, I, just learned marketing and I learned how to find people and it failed. But the one thing that I got out of that business was the skill set in marketing and outsourcing. And so the next business was a marketing agency, which I did it for about a year and realized it wasn't a really good model to scale. And so that's when Outsourcing Angel was built based on the concept of, well, let me help you find the people to do the marketing work for you, just like how I did for my own business. So yeah, Outsourcing Angel till this day, over 10 years now, we are a recruitment company that help you to find offshore staff that's more affordable, but very skilled and experienced in, especially in marketing.
Awesome. So you've been a serial entrepreneur.
Yes.
And done the hard yards, like all good entrepreneurs have done the hard yards, haven't they? Learned the lessons. And this has gone very well for you. And it's I think your timing's good too with the growth of outsourcing and companies willing to be a bit more open and entrepreneurial about how they source their labour, to use an old term.
Yes.
Where do most of the people that you assign to entrepreneurs, where are most of them based?
Yeah. So you got a good point. It is more popular now. Everyone's outsourcing, but it also comes with lots of competition. There's a lot of us around.
Sure.
However, so the place that we outsource the most is Philippines. And I guess there are a lot of companies that have chosen the Philippines because of their great English. They've spent decades in this BPO kind of industry. So it's easy to find talented people who speak good English and at the time zone that's suitable to Australia. So we hire a lot from there. But our internal team come from everywhere. I first started outsourcing to people from Ukraine, from, Pakistan, from Indonesia. And so I really think that there is really no limit to where you outsource. And I think this is where I want to take my company back into that mode in the next couple of years. I really see it that we're not going to limit ourselves just in the Philippines. We believe that there's talented people everywhere and everyone. And here's the motivation for me. It's not just about finding great talent for businesses. I'm very motivated how to create flexible and steady income jobs for people like myself. When I was starting out, I just wanted a flexible job working from home, and I want to be able to create that for, people around the world.
Yeah. It's a wonderful opportunity, I think, these days to be able to outsource a lot of things. We can't be good at everything, and surrounding ourselves with people who are experts and being able to outsource, which obviously has some fiscal wisdom in it. Like we've at my companies, we've outsourced a lot to the Philippines. Fantastic. And the people that we've got working for us up there are just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And often I think there's this misunderstanding that there's a low capability. But what I found, and I've got another client actually who's gone through the same thing, just moved a lot to outsourcing. Not only more highly educated people, better productivity, incredibly hard workers, very loyal, and the ones we've had working for us have stayed for many years. And it's just been an extraordinary experience. I think some people misunderstand that. Do you find that? Do you find people?
Yeah, definitely. Especially I started many, many years ago. And at first when you think of outsourcing, it's kind of comes with this negative belief around the quality of the people that don't really speak English well, and you're going to have to repeat yourself. And, over the years, people have been more open to it. But yeah, once they understand, at the end of the day, it comes down to the leader as well. If you are new to outsourcing and you don't know how to communicate, and you also have different expectation, and you're not willing to put training in, somehow they believe when it comes to outsourcing, they expect that person to be ready from day one.
Right.
But they understand when they hire a local person, they would put training in, a month, 2 months, 3 months, and they know it's a long-term investment. But sometimes with outsourcing, they think it's like, I'm going to hire them and they're going to just save the day.
Yeah.
So we have to kind of train the clients as well. And, we deal with a lot of smaller businesses as well. And, you wear so many hats. You're so busy running around, and sometimes you hire someone, but you don't put time in being there for them, coaching them. Then that's when it falls apart. So I think it's kind of a two-way relationship. If the more you put into that person will also work harder for you.
100%.
And, I'm in the people game, so I know people are complex.
Yeah.
And that's why we exist, because we're there to help you find someone, and then we're there to help you when things don't go well.
Yeah, great. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, is that if you don't train people, like and managing the expectations too, I think people want to know, what am I meant to be doing, and am I doing a good job?
Yep.
And then am I part of something that's bigger than me? Like I think if you cover those three things, but that takes time.
Yeah, and especially remote working as well.
Yeah.
It comes with its own complexity. How do you know to communicate with them? And sometimes they're busy working, but they might, even they forget to update you, and you think they're not working, and then you might accuse them. And so I think over the years I've realized that the one skill set that you can develop to improve your outsourcing ability is just communication skills.
Yes.
Training them to communicate better, and you become a better communicator
Definitely.
too.
Yeah. The problem with communication is the illusion that it's taken place. So sometimes it just doesn't work like that, does it?
We need good communication in everything, even in our marriages, right?
Yeah, we do, especially in our marriages.
Yes.
We do. So what sort of roles are you hiring for? What sort of outsourcing are you doing?
So we deal with a lot of back office admin assistants, but also very specialized in marketing. So when it comes to social media marketing, digital marketing type work, we find that we enjoy that area because I came from that kind of marketing background. And so we're able to lead by example. When we hire, we know when they say they're good, Yeah. And even though we've dabbled in other disciplines before, we feel like we can't help as much because we can interview and they say they're good. But yeah, we feel really strong with the marketing side of the talent.
Yeah, it's such a big area too, isn't it? And growing as much as it ever has, and a moving target, as we know. So tell me a little bit about how do you manage, like as a leader for you in your own organization? You obviously outsource a lot of your work as well. And you've grown your business 10 years now. You've grown that and it's been very successful. What are your leadership lessons around that? So particularly around how do you manage and lead a remote team?
Yeah. When it comes to remote team, we rely a lot on tools, softwares, Excel spreadsheets. One of the interesting hack that I share with people is we have this just a simple Excel spreadsheet, which we call it the weekly huddle sheet. It has columns and it says, how was your week last week? What are your priorities this week? What did you achieve last week? What are your challenges? It's just us very basic questions, but we get all of our team to fill it out at the end on Monday every week. And it allows us all to, get an insight into all of our work colleagues. Yeah. And so, when it comes to working remotely, it's always about coming up with kind of ways to work together, to communicate. Recently, and we're always trying new things. So recently I said, actually, one of my practice by myself is a journal. Every morning I write, what am I grateful for? What is my most impactful task that I want to focus on versus just ticking all these to-dos. So I'm like, why not apply that to my team? And so we created a Slack automation that pops up at 4 a.m. So it doesn't matter what time people log on. And it asks you 3 things you're grateful for, 3 things that you're working on so that everyone else can really see that too. And so I think as a leader, I'm always thinking about like, what am I doing that's making my life better? How can I bring that to the team as well? The other interesting thing is like I am an advocate of work-life balance and enjoying life, not just work. And so I asked myself, how can I also bring that to my team, even though they work full-time or, they're my employees? And so a few years ago, I decided let's do a compulsory day off. And whenever they have a long weekend, they're always like, wow, that's an amazing long weekend. I'm like, why can't you have that long weekend every month? Yeah. And so I decided to bring that to the company, and that has really created happiness and people feeling like it's like they owe it to you. It's like, wow, you treat me so well. I'm going to work hard for you.
Love that.
And so I think it is a complex, lots of factors involved. It's like, yes, you have these tools to kind of maintain the communication, but unless you build the trust and them trusting that you love them, then they will love you back, even if you're not working or, I might be traveling and not being online. But I know that they care about the company just as I do because they know that I've been good to them, so they want to be good back.
I love that. That's creating that culture of trust, I think, is absolutely vital. And trust is one of the greatest things you can build in a company, and so underrated. So you spend a lot of time connecting with them.
Yep.
I love the way that you've talked about helping them think about review and being grateful and doing those things. Do you connect them with each other as well?
Yes. So we have virtual assistants. So we have about 20 people in our we call it the admin team.
Yep.
So they work directly with us. And then we have about 60, 70 VAs, we call it virtual assistants, who work with clients. And so what we try to do is we want to make sure that the VAs are taken care of as well. And our business model is completely remote. So everyone is everywhere in the Philippines. And so, we try to allow them to also connect with each other. So we fund every quarter, we give them money to catch up with each other in their local area, and we kind of turn it into a fun competition. It's like apply for a party, and then they have to come up with an interesting concept. Like one would be like we're doing a Korean pampering party. The other one is like swimming party. And so we give them the money, but then they get to organize their own party and catch up with the other virtual assistants, And
great.
So that's how they connect there. And then our internal team, we catch up in the Philippines in person, as well as we have like an Australian retreat. But I also ask myself, I love going on holidays with friends and family. Why can't I holiday with my team?
Yeah.
And so we have retreats together where we hang out and have fun like friends. And so I think that's our way of really connecting with each other. The other part that we do is we support charity, and for many, many years, even though when the business was this size, we still find a way to donate. And we're lucky to have a partner who they were actually Christian volunteers, which I did when I wasn't even a Christian. I didn't realize I was supporting a Christian foundation, but they're just a bunch of volunteers, and they go out there and build wells, and they climb up big mountains, and they do all these things. And so when we catch up with our team, we actually do a charity trip together. So we're like trekking up there, risking our lives together. And those are the moments that the VAs always feel like this business gives me a purpose, like I see myself as just a VA, but then when I work for you, I feel like I'm part of something, even if it's small, even if we're just building, $100 goes a long way in the Philippines. We're like feeding 5 families, 10 families at a time. So.
Yeah. Well, making a difference and part of something bigger. It's I love that. I think you've done that really, really well. Because right in the middle of the bigger organizations are going against the whole work from home. And everyone's got to come back into the office. There's this whole drive back to command and control. I need to see people. Don't trust they'll be productive at home. You've given all the answers that they need to be able to do that effectively. Do you see that a little bit, that sort of resistance as far as I need people sort of in the room seeing what they're doing?
I feel like you get used to whatever you're doing. Like if you were always seeing people in real life, you feel like you have to see them that way. But then once you get used, it's like a habit. We're so used to working from home and not having to face each other that when we do see each other, we feel like it's more distraction, even though I have like 3 or 4 members in Sydney, I thought that, oh, great, we're going to catch up all the time and then we'll work together. But every time that we catch up to work, we're like, we don't know what to do with each other. We're like kind of like we're in each other's face. Whereas when we're working from home, every hour is so productive. We only book in a meeting and then we'll have a meeting there. No one's kind of bumping in and having chit chats.
Yeah.
And so I think it's just a limiting belief to think that you can only work hard if you see that person.
That's right.
Right. And so there are certain tools, like for example, we use Loom videos to do an instruction. Like, so I like to work at odd times. I wake up at 3 and then I'm doing my very productive impactful work at 4 a.m. I don't expect people to be around at that time for me to have a meeting.
Yeah, I'm definitely not around at 4 o'clock in the morning, just for the record.
Right. But I love that I'm able, because I work like 100 miles per hour in the morning. I just know how smart I am in the morning that I'm addicted to that time. But then at that time, I'm able to create a video or an instruction, send it to the team. At 9 a.m. they wake up, they go and execute whatever. Yeah. And so, we're not wasting time having meetings. And sometimes it's easy to fall into a habit too. There are periods where, as an entrepreneur, you have all these ideas and you're like, hey, are you free for a meeting? And then they drop everything and they have a meeting with you. And then it takes away all these, their time, your time. And then I forgot, I'm like, oh my God, I could be using Loom video, sending them a voice message. Why did I stop and just make everyone have a meeting with me? But it's just that we're creatures of habit. We kind of get into that momentum.
Definitely.
And so then I have to kind of pause again and go, hey, remember all those tools that are available, use it. Assign a task, give them a deadline, because you as an entrepreneur and a founder, you think something is urgent. Everyone thinks it's like the end of the world if they don't do it as well.
Yes.
And so you got to be mindful with the calling meetings now and all that stuff. So then now I just try to be, using tools like a project management tool, creating a task, really thinking about when do I really want this done by, assign to the right person, give them a video which allows them to even rewatch the instruction, because sometimes you're on the fly, give them a call, send them a text. You're not even giving the instructions properly. And so there's a higher chance of them getting things wrong as well.
Definitely. Because the debate around work from home versus work in the office is swinging back to work in the office. And the argument is low productivity if you work from home. You can't create culture. I mean, you've just answered that question. Yes, you can create culture. Yes, you can manage by agreed outcomes, and you can get high productivity if you think about it, if you plan for it, and if you use the right tools, and if you connect people, getting people on retreat and climbing mountains and doing some good, all those things, fantastic. I think you've answered a big corporate question. So I've been a bit frustrated that the corporate world is swinging back to everyone needs to be in an office.
Yeah.
We had this great experiment during COVID. It worked largely very well, and I think with some thinking like you've given, there's a lot of answers to be had.
Yeah, look, corporate world, it's a little bit more complicated because you do have people there just working for the money and not really passionate about what they do. And so how do you make sure that you've got the right team on board, the people that actually do care and just wanted a better, lifestyle, and so they don't take you for granted? Because I do know, when I was working in a corporate job, because the company was such a traditional, typical company that didn't really care too much about people. I felt like I was a number. I wasted a lot of time just surfing on the internet as well.
Yeah.
And I felt like I wasn't growing, and I'm sure they are not getting the best value out of me. And so I think it comes down to going, who do I really have in this company?
Yeah.
Have the right people, then reset that whole protocol about how to work together and gain that trust from your team. And then, it's definitely workable.
Yeah, building that right culture. I sort of read something the other day. Somebody was saying, I don't trust my team. So why would you hire people you don't trust? Like it's suddenly you've got to hire differently, create different culture, really think about embedding those things. What are just sort of more generically around leadership? Now you're running a big team. Leadership by influence almost, because everyone's kind of diverse and all over the place. What other leadership lessons have you learned along the years?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest influence I had was a manager that I worked when I got out of university. I was lucky to work under her, and she was such a unique manager that I felt like I just adopted her style ever since. And she was basically someone that was just authentically her, regardless whether she was at work or she was a friend outside of work. She just was so vulnerable and just shared all these darkest, deepest secrets that I can't believe I'm hearing it from her, and
Yeah.
I felt that was her way to show connection and authenticity and realness, that I just felt motivated to work for her because I knew that everything that came out of her mouth was truth. And so I think since then, I'm just this playful boss. If you see me on the street or you see me at work, I'm just the same old Lynn. I would make funny jokes. I could say the wrong thing, but they would have a laugh. And so they feel like they trust me, and they feel like if I can be vulnerable to them, they can be vulnerable back to me.
Yeah.
And we've had cries, we've had laughs. And so when they feel that, they feel like they can make a mistake. They know they're not going to get in trouble. They know that I understand that mistakes happen. And so I never kind of go, oh my God, what the hell happened? And kind of, blame them or anything. And so I think when they feel so safe, then it allows them to just be their best. And when you can just, if you're feeling like you can be yourself and they can also be yourself, I think that's the foundation.
Yeah.
Then everyone can just do their best in whatever way. But definitely I also know my boundaries. Like I would only tolerate if you're competent and you do what you say.
Yeah.
I'm not just this nice person and I'm smiling at everything. It's in work is work.
Yeah.
If you promise you do something, you do. So they know I'm that firm person as well.
Yeah.
And I'm the same as a parent to my kids. I just told my husband yesterday that my daughter was in trouble. But interestingly, even though she was in trouble, after that she's like sucking up to me and felt really bad, because she knows that I'm only angry because I have the rights to be angry at that time, but then she's not angry at me back. And I think my team also feels that if Lynn, I don't want to make Lynn angry, but if I do, I get why she would have been. But in short, there's just a lot of vulnerability and trust.
Such a great key, being authentic like that. That's amazing. As you mentioned the kids, 9 and 11, is that right?
Yes, and my oldest is 21.
Oh yeah, there you go. So, so busy family life, because your husband had his own business as well.
Yes.
So there's lots going on, and there's always demands for an entrepreneur. There's like a lot of people want things from you all the time, and it's 24/7 often. How do you manage? This
is why you wake up at 3 a.m.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that. No, that's just bad advice.
So, look, I had a child when I was only 20, and so I think that was why I learned to be better at time management.
Yeah.
Because at that age, I still wanted to party.
Yeah.
I still had to finish uni, and I had to manage a kid. My mum is like, how are you going to do all this? I don't know how I was going to do it, but I had to do it.
Yeah.
And I think from that early age, I really learned to kind of treasure everything that I have. Like if I'm partying, I'm making the most out of partying. And then I have to go home and kind of, balance with my child. And so at that age already, it's like, how do you manage to do uni and this and this? And I think it's like when you're forced to, you do.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful for that lesson because now I feel like I can always do everything. I just need to better manage my time. And so I feel like when you add a lot of positive habits in, like if you want to go for a run, if you want to hang out with certain friends and, read a book, those are all the things that you want to do. If you fit it in your diary and you make it as a must do, then you have less time doing the other crappy things like, scrolling on your social media. We all have the same amount of hours. And so I feel like it's just about how to maximize those hours. And look, I didn't start, I wasn't alive yesterday and started waking up at 3 a.m. I remember I used to just wake up like everyone else, just whenever I felt like it. But then one day when I saw one of my VA, because we went on a retreat together and she woke up at 8 a.m. when I woke up. She came by and she goes, "Good morning, Miss Lynn. What coffee would you like?" And her energy was like next level and I was barely opening my eyes. And I remember reading, articles and always hearing successful people wake up early. And I've always wanted to, but I just felt like it was just too hard to achieve.
Yeah.
But when I saw someone like her with that energy and I said, "What time did you wake up?" She goes, "I woke up at 4. I go, "What?" And she's like, "I've been doing that since uni days, It allows me to have more time." And that's when I said to myself, I want what she's having, like this. It wasn't that she had the time. I just felt like this energy that she had. And so I got really curious and I came back home and I started practicing. I did 5 a.m. and it didn't give me much time. And so I keep practicing to go 4. And I am now at the 3 a.m. mark, which I will not push it any further because it would have been really odd to be waking up at 2 a.m.
Yep.
But I just found a really sweet spot. I sleep at 9. I wake up at 3. I'm like a routine baby. Like 9 p.m. I'm like.
Regular's good, like
yeah.
same time.
Same time, yep.
Yep. For sure.
So that I think people are used to, if they sleep at 12 and wake up at 6, they think it's kind of normal, you know. But then when they hear 9 and 3, they kind of feel it's weird. But it's still 6 solid hours.
Yep.
And what it allows me to do, other than giving me more time, is in the morning, it's a different kind of feeling. I can't describe it. It's like you're on top of the world. Your mind is clear. Apart from the first 10 minutes you wake up, you're like, oh my God, I just want to go back to bed.
Yeah.
After you break through of that, it's this sense of like, this morning was so I had a whole week off school holidays and I didn't have that routine. So I'm not strict where I'm like always 3 or 4.
Yep.
Last week I said it's school holidays. I'm waking up when the kids are waking up. Yep. But today when I woke up early again, I'm like, oh my God, I miss this. It's this sense of control over your day. And then so in the morning, it allows me to actually plan out my life. I'm not talking about just my business. I'm talking about my life. Like where am I holidaying? Yep. When am I spending time with my family, my husband? And then reflecting. So every month I reflect on my journal daily. I reflect weekly, monthly. Where are you going to find time for that unless you create that time?
Yeah.
And so this morning, you know, because I haven't done my monthly reflection, I kind of feel a little bit like, you know, when you live life but you feel like, did I achieve much? Like what happened last month?
Yeah.
Time just flew by. But because I had time this morning to do my routine of a monthly reflection, I note down all the highlights of my September and the challenges and the feeling, and I just felt so clear, like, wow, I've done so much. If I die tomorrow, I'm satisfied.
That's great.
And so I think just that morning routine gives you a lot of power and time back. So it allows me to have self-care. I've already exercised at 6:30 with my friends online.
That's great.
And
Awesome. So there's a lot going on there. So your diary's your friend. So you put your life priorities as well as your business priorities in there. I do that. I think it's fantastic. It's really good. Great thing to do. I'm not an early riser. I should be. So early rise is great. Works really well for you. And I like you talk about exercise and those things as well. So sleep well, exercise well. Lock in those relationships in your diary. I think that's fantastic. That's great advice. Really good advice. You're very involved in EO as well. I know you do leadership things there. I think you're running the education program.
I'm in the learning chair role.
Oh, right. Okay. So you're education next year. Awesome.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about for those that don't know what EO is and the peer-to-peer mentoring surrounding yourself. How does that work for you?
So 2 years ago, I joined EO and I was really surprised at the benefits I've gained out of it. It's being surrounded by other entrepreneurs who are more established. So the good thing about EO is that you come in knowing that everyone shares the similar values and that they all have to be $1 million US businesses and above. And so we're all kind of at a certain stage versus sometimes when you join a networking group, the kind of startups or maybe people aspiring to be an entrepreneur, whereas here we're all at the same stage. And I find that we're all kind of similar ages as well. We're like late 30s, 40s with a few kids, you know. And so I feel like we're surrounded by like-minded people. It's also a place for a lot of learning and growth. You know, it was my first time learning about breath work. And I thought it was just some meditation, but then I discovered it was, you know, way bigger. And if it wasn't for EO, I wouldn't have learnt all these things because all these others are always seeking growth and learning. And so you get to learn from people. So because it's a nonprofit, it requires members to be volunteers as well. And so I put my hands up because I love the community, and I started off being a co-chair the first year, co-chair for communications, and then second year now I'm a learning chair. So my job is to put events together. But through serving, through helping, I'm able to meet speakers, you know, because my role requires me to put speakers on. And so I get to meet so many amazing speakers. And so I think EO just gives you, I guess, a place to not just meet others, but to grow for yourself, to become better leaders, to volunteer, to do roles that you normally don't get to. Now I get to sit on a board, even though it's not like a real board, but then you get a chance to know what it's like to be surrounded by other leaders and work together as a board member.
Are you in a forum?
Yes. Forum is amazing too.
How do you find that?
Yes. So I love Forum because you are all trained in the same way to learn how to be vulnerable, to learn how to facilitate a 4-hour session where, you know, we share our deepest and darkest challenges in business and learn and grow together. And at first, to be frank, it wasn't run in a way that I got any benefit at the beginning.
Yeah.
But then now that I understood how to do it, I don't know if you have deep dives in YPO as well. Yeah. So our deep dives got really good recently because I upskilled myself. I learned more about forum deep dives in training. And that's the thing about EO, and I'm sure YPO too, they always have opportunities to learn. It's like learn how to be better members, learn how to be better forum mates, And so I did that, and I've gained so much out of the forum experience, deep diving in a way that allows you to get experience shares from other people, and we realize that we're all the same.
Yeah.
You just don't feel alone anymore in business.
Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Yeah. I train YPO forums, so I'm a bit biased about that whole side of things.
Yeah.
I love it. Been in forum for 23 years. So no, just fantastic.
Now I know what it's like when they say forum is amazing or it's addictive or whatever it is. It's like when you get it right and the group clicks, or you do the deep dives correctly. Yeah, it's perfect.
Definitely, it's just great to have people around you that love life, have similar challenges, and are willing to sort of share openly and with some vulnerability, have some empathy.
Yeah,
and it's a great program. And the YPO ones and EO are pretty much identical. So
yes,
they're great. Lynn, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here today. It's been great to see you again. If people are interested in what you're doing, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Yeah, I'm all over the internet.
Yeah,
you can search Linh Podetti or Outsourcing Angel, and all over social media. So I'd love to connect.
Yeah, well, we'll make sure all those connections are all those details are in the below the line, so people can reach out to you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. It was fun. Nice. Time flew by.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you. Thanks for joining us at the Lead Well, Live Well vodcast. Please like, subscribe, and share. If you want to know more about what we're all about, you can find us at leadwelllivewell.com.au.